A silent library, 11 instruments in their cases. When Estelle Hayes walks past the orchestra's audition room, no one notices her. Plain, invisible, carrying a cafeteria tray. But beneath her uniform lies a history the music world thought died years ago. And today, when the final soloist cancels, necessity will uncover what arrogance refused to see. Before we dive into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from. La Señora de la Casa. The marble foyer gleamed under Beverly Hills sunlight, each surface reflecting wealth that Isela Marquez had earned but never flaunted. She ran her fingertips along the cool stone banister, inhaling the scent of lemon trees, drifting through open windows. The mansion stood empty now, but in her mind it already teemed with young artists, their canvases propped against walls where pretentious portraits once hung. "Make beauty where they say you don't belong," she whispered. Echoing her grandmother's words, Isela adjusted her simple cotton dress and continued toward the garden. Her worn sandals made soft sounds against the terracotta tiles. At 30, her face carried both youth's softness and determination's edge, high cheekbones inherited from generations of Oaxacan women who'd survived on beauty they created rather than beauty they possessed. The garden sprawled before her, overgrown but promising. 3 ancient lemon trees formed a triangle around a cracked fountain. She imagined children sitting there, sketching, while instructors moved between them, offering guidance. What are you doing back here?" The voice sliced through her daydream. Isela turned to see a woman striding toward her from the neighboring property, diamonds flashing at her throat and wrists, stiletto heels somehow navigating the uneven ground with practiced ease. "This is private property," the woman huffed, stopping, mere feet away. Her perfectly arranged blonde hair didn't move despite the breeze. "We don't let maids wander around like this. Go out the back." "I think you're mistaken," Isela began. "No, dear, you are." The woman's smile was sharp as broken glass. "If you're here to clean, the service entrance is around the side, and do be quiet. This is an elite neighborhood." Isela recognized the type. She'd encountered versions of this woman her entire career. Patrons who'd spoken over her at gallery openings, collectors who'd asked if she was just assisting the artist they'd come to meet. "I understand," Isela said quietly, turning away. Behind her, the woman's triumphant little exhale was audible. 20 minutes later, a convoy of luxury vehicles pulled into the circular driveway. Contractors in pressed shirts emerged from Range Rovers. An interior designer stepped from a sleek Tesla, portfolio under her arm. Gabriel Knox arrived last, his vintage Jaguar purring to a stop. At 32, the preservation architect had already made his name restoring historical properties with modern sustainability features. Tall and lean, he moved with the easy confidence of someone who'd never been told he didn't belong. "Isela," he called, embracing her warmly. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic on Sunset was murder." She handed him a roll of blueprints. "No problem. Ready." To walk the new owner through the plans? From her balcony next door, Margot Templeton watched, confusion creasing her forehead. She descended her stairs quickly, approaching the property line just as one of the contractors glanced up. "She's the boss," the man said loudly, nodding toward Isela. "Señora Marquez owns the whole estate." Margot's perfectly glossed lips parted, then closed. Her face froze in a rictus of disbelief. "Let's start with the main hall," Isela said to the gathered team, not acknowledging Margot's presence. "I'm thinking of exposing those original ceiling beams." Later, as the team dispersed to take measurements and photographs, Gabriel and Isela walked the upstairs corridor alone. "The light in this wing is perfect for the student studios," she said, pausing at a window overlooking the hills. "It's going to be spectacular," Gabriel agreed. He hesitated. "About earlier with the neighbor woman. Did it bother you? What she said?" Isela shrugged, but her voice quieted. "Only because I used to believe it myself." "What do you mean?" "When I arrived in Los Angeles, I cleaned houses in neighborhoods like this. It paid for art school. Some mornings I'd catch myself thinking maybe this was all I'd ever be allowed to do." Gabriel's dark eyes held hers. "And now you own the place." "And now I own the place," she agreed, a small smile playing at her lips. "Let's keep going." The ballroom needs the most work. The renovation proceeded smoothly for 2 weeks. Isela arrived early each morning and left late, reviewing every detail with meticulous care. The house was more than an investment. It was a statement, a promise, to her younger self. When the second incident occurred, Isela was reviewing color samples in the dining room. Voices drifted through the open French doors from the patio, where Gabriel was meeting with landscape architects. "I still can't believe." "She bought this place," a woman's voice, Margot's, said loudly. "The property values will plummet once she starts bringing in those community art programs." Isela froze, paintbrush in hand. "Mrs. Templeton," Gabriel's voice was cold. "This is a private consultation." "Oh, Gabriel, I've known your family for years. Your father would never have taken a project like this. I mean, really. Some cleaning lady who got lucky. What does she know about preserving historical properties?" Actually, Isela studied architectural preservation at... It's not just about education, dear. Margot's laugh tinkled like expensive crystal. It's about breeding, culture, understanding the heritage of these homes. "Mrs. Templeton, I've started a neighborhood petition. We have standards here, zoning regulations. We can't have busloads of inner-city children disrupting..." Isela stepped onto the patio. The group fell silent. Gabriel, 2 landscape designers, and Margot, who wore tennis whites despite no evidence she'd been playing. "Mrs. Templeton," Isela said evenly, "I believe we haven't been properly introduced. I'm Isela Marquez." "Yes, well..." Margot didn't offer her hand. "I was just expressing some concerns about your plans. I heard. Perhaps you'd like to see those plans." Isela gestured to the portfolio on the table. "We're preserving every historical element of significance. The property will actually increase in value considerably." The landscape architects exchanged glances. Gabriel's jaw tightened. "That's not the value I'm concerned about," Margot sniffed. "No, I gathered that." Isela maintained her composure. "Regardless, this meeting is, as Gabriel said, private. If you have concerns, my office can schedule a time to discuss them." "Your office," Margot laughed. "How quaint." She spun on her designer tennis shoes and strode away, leaving an uncomfortable silence behind. "I apologize for that," Gabriel said quietly. Isela shook her head. "Never apologize for other people's behavior. Now, about these drought-resistant plantings." That evening, Isela stayed late, walking the empty rooms alone. In the ballroom, moonlight streamed through uncovered windows, illuminating the space where her grandmother's mural design would soon cover an entire wall. She closed her eyes, remembering the tiny apartment where her abuela had painted, selling canvases to tourists to put Isela through school. A sound made her turn. Gabriel stood in the doorway, his silhouette tall against the dim hallway light. "I thought you'd gone," she said. "Forgot my laptop." He stepped into the room. "What are you doing here in the dark?" "Remembering," she gestured around them. "My grandmother told me stories about houses like this. Her mother cleaned them, and her mother before that. 4 generations of Marquez women working in places they couldn't live." Gabriel moved closer. "And now?" "Now I'm changing the story." She smiled softly. "For all the girls who come after me." Something shifted between them then, a current of understanding, of shared purpose despite different paths. As they walked to their cars together, their conversation flowed easily from design choices to childhood memories, his in San Francisco, hers in a small Oaxacan village before coming to America. The next morning brought news that threatened everything. Gabriel arrived looking troubled, finding Isela reviewing contractor bids in the sunroom. "We have a problem," he said without preamble. "The Historical Society is challenging your permits." "On what grounds?" "They claim your proposed changes violate preservation guidelines." He dropped a file on the table. "It's Margot. She sits on their board." Isela flipped through the documents, her stomach sinking. "These objections are absurd. We're not changing any historical elements. It's not about the facts, it's about delay. If she ties this up in reviews and hearings, your costs will skyrocket." "So what do we do?" Gabriel hesitated. "There's a public hearing next week. You'll need to present your case." "Fine, I'll prepare." Isela, he looked uncomfortable. It might be better if I present. I have history with the board and I don't look the part. She finished for him. That's not what I meant, isn't it? She stood, gathering the papers. I appreciate your concern, Gabriel, but I'll be presenting my own project. His expression was unreadable. Of course, I'll help you prepare. The day of the hearing, Isela dressed carefully, a tailored navy suit, her grandmother's silver earrings her only adornment. She arrived early, setting up her presentation materials while the room gradually filled. Gabriel took a seat in the front row, giving her an encouraging nod. At precisely 2 o'clock, the board members filed in. Margot sat at the end, satisfaction evident in her smile. We're here to review the proposed changes to the Westmont estate, the chairperson began. Mrs. Templeton has raised concerns about historical integrity. Ms. Marquez, you may present your case. Isela approached the podium. From the corner of her eye, she saw Margot lean toward another board member, whispering something that made them both smirk. Distinguished board members, Isela began, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. The Westmont estate represents not only architectural history, but cultural history as well. My plans preserve both. She displayed her first slide, the original 1928 blueprints. The home was designed by Rafael Marquez, an immigrant from Oaxaca who worked under Wallace Neff, but was never credited. She paused. He was also my great-grandfather. A murmur rippled through the room. Margot's smile faltered. For 3 generations, my family has cleaned, gardened, and maintained properties like this, always in service to others' visions. Today, I reclaim my great-grandfather's legacy and fulfill his original vision. With methodical precision, Isela walked through each contested element, demonstrating how her plans actually restored features that had been altered over decades. She displayed old photographs, architectural journals, and her great-grandfather's original sketches, preserved by her grandmother. The proposed art center will make this historical treasure accessible to the community, while honoring the architect's intention, a house that brings art and beauty to all people, not just the wealthy few. She concluded with a rendering of the completed project, the mansion restored to its original glory, but with purpose beyond mere ostentation. When she finished, the room remained silent for several heartbeats. The chairperson cleared his throat. This is unexpected information. Ms. Marquez, why wasn't this family connection mentioned in your initial application? Because the merit of my proposal doesn't depend on my DNA, Isela said simply. The plans stand on their own. But since Mrs. Templeton raised questions about my understanding of the home's heritage, it seemed relevant to mention. All eyes turned to Margot, whose face had flushed an unbecoming shade of red. That's not, Margot sputtered. How can we verify this claim? Anyone could say they're related to... Actually, Gabriel interrupted, standing. I took the liberty of researching Ms. Marquez's assertions. He approached, handing documents to the chairperson. These are employment records from the Neff, firm census data, and birth certificates confirming Rafael Marquez's role and his relationship to Ms. Marquez. Margot's knuckles whitened around her designer pen. This is ridiculous. She's turning a historical home into some kind of charity case. Mrs. Templeton, the chairperson said sharply, that's enough. The board conferred briefly, then voted unanimously to approve Isela's permits. As people filed out, Gabriel touched her elbow gently. That was incredible, he said. Why didn't you tell me about your great-grandfather? You never asked. She gathered her materials. You assumed, like everyone else, that I was just some newcomer who got lucky. His face fell. That's not fair, Isela. I've supported you from day one. Have you? She zipped her portfolio closed. I did some research too, Gabriel. 3 years ago, you declined a partnership with the Latinx Arts Foundation. You called their proposal too regional to survive. Gabriel paled. How did you... It was my proposal, Gabriel. Before I sold my company. Before I could afford to buy this place outright. She hefted her bag onto her shoulder. So you tell me, did you change your mind because the idea got better, or because I got richer? She left him standing there, speechless for the first time since she'd known him. The following weeks were tense. Gabriel continued supervising the renovation, But their easy rapport had vanished. They spoke only of materials and timelines, never of the hurt that hung between them. 4 months later, the mansion's transformation was nearly complete. Student. Studios filled the east wing. The garden had been restored, the lemon trees pruned and thriving around a functioning fountain. In the ballroom, artists worked on the massive mural, her grandmother's design enlarged and adapted to cover the vaulted ceiling and one entire wall. Isela stood alone in the center of the room, watching the painter's work when Gabriel entered. "It's magnificent," he said quietly. She nodded without turning. It's what she always dreamed of creating, something too big to ignore. Gabriel moved to stand beside her. For several minutes they watched in silence as brushes brought the vibrant scene to life, a celebration of indigenous artistic traditions blended with modern techniques, stories within stories. "I was wrong," Gabriel said finally. 3 years ago and again when we started this project, I didn't see what you were trying to build. And now?" He ran his hand along the base of the mural, where her grandmother's signature would soon be painted. "I didn't believe in it back then, but you made me see it." Isela turned to him, studying his face. "The question is, did you finally see it? Or did you finally see me?" "Both," he admitted. "I had to see you to understand the vision. All those years of training, and I still couldn't see past my own limited perspective. And now I'm asking for a second chance." He met her gaze. "Not professionally, that's your call, but personally, as someone who admires you, who wants to learn from you." Isela considered him carefully. "I don't need admirers, Gabriel, or students." "What about partners?" He gestured. "Around them." "Equal ones?" A small smile touched her lips. "That requires trust." "I know. I'm willing to earn it." He hesitated. "Starting with this." He handed her a folder. "I'm establishing a scholarship for Latinx preservation architects. No strings, no control. Just funding and mentorship opportunities. Trying to buy forgiveness? No. Trying to fix what I got wrong." He shrugged. "You don't have to be involved. It's happening either way." Something in his voice, its certainty, its lack of performance, made her believe him. "The opening gala is next month," she said after a moment. "I need someone who understands both worlds to help host." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was an opening, a chance to build something new on foundations they both now understood. 6 months later, the Beverly Hills Arts Collective celebrated its first semester completion. Young artists from across Los Angeles displayed their work throughout the mansion's grand rooms. In the garden, musicians played beneath the lemon trees. Wealthy patrons mingled with students' families, checkbooks opening as easily as conversations. Isela moved through the crowd in a gown embroidered with traditional Oaxacan patterns, stopping to introduce young artists, explain techniques, connect potential mentors with promising talents. In the ballroom, she found Gabriel showing a group of architecture students the restored ceiling beams. The original craftsman used techniques brought from Oaxaca, he was explaining. No nails, just perfect joinery that's held for nearly a century. Noticing her, he smiled and extended his hand. She took it, completing the circle of their long journey from misunderstanding to respect. Later, after the guests had gone, they sat on the garden bench beneath a full moon. The fountain bubbled softly beside them. "My grandmother would have loved." "Tonight," Isela said, leaning against his shoulder. "She was here," Gabriel replied. "In every brushstroke, every beam, every young artist who now has a chance." Isela looked up at the mansion, no longer a symbol of exclusion but a beacon of possibility. Windows that once framed privileged lives now showcased diverse talents. Doors that once kept people like her at a distance now stood open to all with the courage to create. "Make beauty where they say you don't belong," she murmured. Gabriel squeezed her hand gently. "You did more than that. You made a place where everyone belongs." The lesson wasn't just in proving others wrong. It was in remaining true to one's vision despite the doubters. The greatest beauty comes not from shouting down those who dismiss you, but from quietly building what they claimed you couldn't. And perhaps the most powerful change happens not when we force others to see our value, but when we create spaces where value is recognized in everyone.